The automotive landscape is getting increasingly interesting, exciting, technology intensive, and also a lot of new trends in design. So here we are in a conversation with Pratap Bose, Chief Design and Creative Officer at Mahindra and Mahindra, to talk more about how this electrification trend and generally in the automotive space, what are the new threads or new trends in terms of automotive design that are taking shape, and one set of Mahindra vehicles, the BE6 and the XEV 9E, are good demonstration of what the new design philosophy of Mahindra and Mahindra is. And to tell us more about that, let's hear it from the man himself. Pratap, thanks for spending your time.
Thank you, Shumo. Thank you very much.
The set of vehicles, the born electric, or as you prefer to call it,
Electric origin.
SUVs of electric origin, they are quite, if I may use the word, radical.
Yeah.
And more so compared to what the tradition has been in the Indian automotive landscape,
Yes.
specifically in Mahindra's case also.
Yeah.
So you are kind of taking a departure in terms of your design language. Tell us more with this. What were the 2 or 3 key things that you wanted to really portray or convey as a message, rather, and how would it kind of progress into the future?
Yeah, thank you. So Shumo, absolutely right. We wanted to establish the fact that these are electric origin SUVs. That means they are not modified ICE vehicles which have then become electric. These were conceived, engineered and designed to be electric.
Therefore, no telltale lineage signs, even in terms of design also.
None at all, because you're starting from a clean sheet of paper. You're starting a new, let's say, new era of the automotive business, for us at least. Then why should you, be bound by, what's gone in the past? Because that's a totally different set of technologies, of motive power, all of it. So here were 2 things you tried to do. One is you bring in a completely new set of customers to the Mahindra, overall Mahindra brand. Someone who may not have even considered us, right? Because of whatever reason.
Right.
You want to bring in a new customer, because that's what we have to do to grow as a business. So B, for example, is a new sub-brand we created. XEV is a new sort of twist on XUV, because it's electric. But yes, when you first see, and what I call it, at first sight, people must feel that there's something else under that hood, or under that skin. And I think we've been quite successful in doing that. Since our reveal in Chennai, wherever the cars have gone, people have stopped to look. And it doesn't matter if they're children, if they're grandmothers, if they are, fathers, whatever. People have stopped and really taken notice.
It definitely kind of attracts attention.
Yeah.
But there have been examples in the Indian market of polarized views.
Sure.
Are you also prepared for that? Perhaps, this may be, I won't say unappetizing, but maybe too different or too radical for some Indian consumers. Are you prepared for that?
Yeah, I think, look, Shumo, as long as people who like the car love the car, and that proportion is greater than those who perhaps don't, I'm okay. Because I think if you try to please everybody, you end up with something so vanilla and so boring.
Therefore, your chances of standing out in the crowd will be less.
Yes, and you end up pleasing nobody, by the way. Because look, Shumo, the car has a design life of, 3.5 years. That means in development. And then it's got 7 or 8 years in the field. That means you are talking about 10 to 12 years of a product that has to live in this market, which is competitive.
Shelf life, if you may.
Shelf life, so if you're talking about 12 years, you don't even know what's going to happen, tomorrow, let alone 12 years. So when you're designing the product or the car, you have to push the envelope.
You have to have the appetite for risk.
You have to, because otherwise, in the 3 years that you've designed and engineered it, by the time you launch, someone else could make it totally obsolete.
Correct.
Obsolescence can happen even before you launch the product.
Yes.
Because someone else will do that. So I'm hoping, or we are hoping, that these two products have made others obsolete. That's the aim. And like I said, of course, some people may or may not, find it their cup of tea. But as long as there is a greater proportion of people who love it, there is a lot of love for, and like I said, across age, across.
So you feel you kind of stand vindicated?
From the first impressions that you get a sense of
right.
what people feel.
Yeah, with the comments and
with the comments and with what you hear around. I think we've really hit the spot on with these two new BEVs.
If this is counted as a starting point, how do you progress?
Wow, that's a very good question, and it's a question I think all designers face. That how do you've done something sort of path-breaking, how do you do that again? Shumo, we are lucky.
I'm not talking about another path-breaking idea, but taking this journey ahead.
Oh yeah.
Be it, let's say, with my limited knowledge about automotive design, the design philosophy, for example.
Yes.
The family look, for example. So what are the things that you want to carry on as a journey progresses?
Absolutely. Shumo, we are very, very lucky at Mahindra that we have 4 and now 5 strong brands, right? 5 I'm saying because B is a brand new, let's say, brand. But the other 4 brands are extremely strong. They have their own heritage. They have their own customer. They have their own fan following. They have their own obsession.
Yeah.
A Thar customer is a Thar customer and will not change to a Scorpio. Or a Scorpio customer will not go and buy a Bolero, even if they have to wait, right?
Yes.
We have seen waiting. And it doesn't cannibalize in that sense. So we treat each brand. So I have basically 5 design language opportunities.
Okay.
So the Thar has its own design language, and we showed a vision of that in the Thar E, for example.
Yes.
In 2023, August, in South Africa, we showed a vision of what an electric Thar can be, which looks nothing like the B6 or the XEV. Right. So tomorrow, if we electrify the Scorpio brand, what will that look like? If we electrify a Bolero, what will that look like? If we, we've done a XUV, XEV. Yeah. So I have 5 different opportunities to take 5 different languages forward, and which is unique to Mahindra. Right. This is not one product in 5 sizes. Right. These are 5 completely different brands. Right. So if the XEV is a hint of what XUV does, if the Thar E is a hint of what a future Thar direction is, that's how we deal with it.
Progress.
Yeah.
And tell us, we had conversations related to sustainability in design.
Yes.
Also.
Yes.
And that's increasingly an important factor, right?
Absolutely.
In terms of the overall ESG goals as a manufacturer, and specifically from the consumer. Consumer are getting more and more conscious about environment, and therefore
the choices they make.
The choices they make.
Yeah.
In these, the first one would be that the PET bottles.
Yes. So in the B6,
recycled into
in the B6,
fabrics.
Shumo, and I spoke to you a few years ago. In the B6, we have used a fabric, for the first time in the market, which is 50% PET bottles. So the PET bottles we drink from, they end up becoming this fabric, and it's for automotive application. We developed this, we brought the technology and the material to India through our tier 1 suppliers because it didn't exist. Our plastics are recyclable because we don't coat or treat them. So we have taken some small steps in doing this, because look, the customers today, yes, are much more conscious, but they don't want to necessarily pay a heavy price for being green, right?
Yes. We are in that journey. Perhaps you may command that in the West, some markets in the West, but in India it's still some time away. But at least there's a starting which is happening.
Absolutely, and we are therefore extremely happy that in whatever small way we've been able to start the introduction of this thinking through these materials, through those processes. And again, we've discussed this before. I want to make cars much more easier to dismantle in the future. Right. The way you label the materials. I told you a door pad can have over 10, 12 different materials. How do you segregate that? So this is the thinking we've already started in the company. So the fabric is there already. The plastics are untreated in the B6, which makes it easy to shred. You don't have to. There's no paint on some of them, or all of that. So those few steps that we've already initiated, and we'll do more and more and more and more. And I want really through our materials story. As you said, not just for the ESG goals, but it's the right thing to do. And I think the customer and the consumer is getting much more aware. The younger audience, for example, they're making choices that either keep you in business or not.
Yeah, these factors could be make or break.
Of course, they're choosing with their wallet, right? So these could have huge implications. So we've started the journey. I don't think we are there yet. It's not an end anyway, but we will do more and more and more of this. And I also feel that by bringing this material to India, other manufacturers, other OEMs are able to also implement this.
Then it will have a cascading effect positive cascading effect in terms of the economy of scale as it grows.
Absolutely.
Because these things, every technology comes at a cost. By the way, this, for example, if you take the example of the seat fabric made out of recycled PET bottle, did it come at a premium compared to the other?
It's a slight premium, but again, the way we've used it in the car, the overall cost doesn't get affected.
Okay.
So, you'll see we've used it with some leatherette materials. So if you see in the pack 3, there's fabric and there's a blend of some other materials. So these things help in us bringing that material to the car, but also keeping a control on cost. Because I told you, I think it's important that you don't take the customer for granted.
Right.
That, okay, just because it's green or eco-friendly, we'll charge you a huge premium. I don't think you're going to get that.
Right.
But the consciousness is there, and therefore when you bring that material, it's appreciated.
Correct.
Today it's appreciated, tomorrow it'll be demanded.
Yes.
So
Right.
at least you got to start there.
Right. And as a brand also, I think you kind of make a statement in a way. I
Yeah.
mean, you have an opportunity to make a statement.
Absolutely.
Tell me, Pratap, as the automotive industry progresses, electrification megatrend grows, and ADAS and all this technology things happen. What are the green shoots of new technology new design trends that you see in the current scenario or maybe in the horizon?
I definitely see, because cars are getting more, less mechanical, if I could put it, and more electronic and more technical and technological. There's the expression of that is changing in the way we design the cars. So electric, of course, gives you benefits of architecture anyway, packaging, space, all of that. But also the expression. We are seeing cars are, using many more LEDs. They're trying to communicate something else to the customer. Earlier it used to be about horsepower, right? You had a long hood and muscle and all of that.
V6 and V12.
Yeah, now it's about electronic power or processing power.
Right.
It's about intelligence. It's about how intelligent the car is. How do you express that in design? It's not about horsepower necessarily anymore, right? So what does it become about? It becomes about compute power.
Correct.
As it moves from one technology to the other. So I think that's coming across in a very strange, in a very exciting new way. And lighting, for example, is one of these. But even in the interiors, the way you will interact with the car, there's much more information.
Correct.
How do you prevent that information from becoming too much? How much is too much? What are the other ways we can interact with the car? Does it have to be with touch? Can it not be with voice, with sound, with sight? So I think these are amazing new things that are coming. Gesture.
And you touched about lighting.
Yeah.
One thing I've observed, even as a lay person, the electrification trend, and this I'm noticing both in two-wheelers as well as cars. The lights are becoming slimmer. Yeah. Especially the tail lamps, LED, one strip light.
Yes.
But then it seems that perhaps, I don't know, one could also argue that maybe it's there's a lack of originality in some design teams, that everyone is going for that same trend.
Yeah.
Why is it
so trends are
even if you look at the four-wheelers, there's as they say, some depend pillar to pillar or coast to coast, strip. then it becomes quite common.
Yeah, but
Why is it so?
trends are like that. I mean, it's called a trend because
Yeah.
it picks up. It really gathers a lot of momentum. If you look at the B6, for example, in the back, Sumo, we've done this little digital display. And I think that's a nice little step.
Differentiation.
Yeah, a nice little step forward. It was inspired by 1980s graphic equalizer.
Oh,
yeah,
is
so
it?
if you see,
Okay.
that was the original thought behind it, and it became this, little playful touch in the car. You can have a message, you can have a little light graphic. It moves with the sound.
Yeah.
For
What do you call
example,
it? Groove what?
Groove Me.
Groove me.
Yeah. So there's playful ways of interpreting technology, and I think there's some cool ways we've done
So
that.
it's the car is also. Do you think the car will become more? No, if this is any indication, perhaps the car will become a canvas for such creative ideas.
Absolutely. If you
along
look,
with becoming
if
a
you look at
software.
the Mars roof we've done, so in the 9E there's our logo on the roof. In the B6 there's a nice line pattern. It's literally like a canvas because with the lighting, with that sandwich roof technology, you're able to deliver this kind of delight. It's not just a piece of glass. You could have a child sitting there looking up, dreaming.
Imagining.
It's so nice, right? You can bring a bit of moments of joy or moments of surprise to the customer still.
That's fine. I mean, no, but these are any indications. I'm sure the car will become an even more interesting piece of not only machine but maybe a piece of art also. But tell me, what are the challenges? 2 or 3 key challenges that you really grapple with. You and your team in basically in pushing the boundaries or in kind of progressing the in moving ahead in this journey.
I think the challenges are more internal. Is that do you have the belief as a team that you can push the envelope right to the edge? Because you're always scared of going to the edge. Internally, ourselves. So you have to break that barrier first.
Okay.
To be able to push the team to say that, look, whatever you've done in the past, can we move beyond that? Can we forget that? Can we bring something new that even we haven't thought of? And that challenged also the other teams. I'm not talking about only design. I mean, Velu's team in MRV.
And then the manufacturing.
The manufacturing team. I always say to my dear colleague Vinay, who's heading manufacturing, that every time we launch a car, in Chakan or Nasik or wherever, should I say sorry to his team or should I say thank you? Because I probably caused a lot of sleepless nights.
You pose a challenge to them as well.
Yeah. It's not easy to manufacture a car anyway, because you're bringing 3,000-4,000 parts together from, over 200-300 different suppliers. And in these 2 new cars, it's even more challenging, and what a job they've done. I mean, I must sort of mention this, the way they have, of course, we are in product planning, design, engineering, all of that is great, but the supply chain team and the manufacturing, I think, are outstanding in what they've done for us.
And what you've done with these 2 vehicles, this set of vehicles, which kind of also mark a new beginning, a new chapter, if I may call it, for Mahindra and Mahindra.
Yes.
Sorry, especially the BE6. Now, one thought came to my mind that could it be the smartphone moment for the automotive industry? And a colleague says, no, it could be it's an iPhone moment.
I didn't think of it like that, but now that you mention it, I'll tell you why I resonate with what you're saying. We design the cars in studios, which are closed off. We design them we see them always inside the studio or inside the production line. The moment, and so you don't see it relative to anything else, right? The moment you put it on the road, so in November when we launched these, on 27th or 26th, sorry, in Chennai, and today when we've been driving around, you see the product on the road relative to everything else, right? So other cars, other bikes, scooters, animals, buildings. When you put it in that context, I really agree with you. It looks like it's come from another planet, and the way the people look at the car, they're like, what on earth is that?
So also in the Indian context. I guess.
Yes. But to be fair, Shuma, we have also seen it in. We were shooting the ads in Madrid. Both the ad films you saw. Even there, it was in a completely European context, and people were stopping and staring at the cars. We couldn't, of course, talk about it because it was all secret and all of that. But even there, next to any of the other cars which are on the street, they just seemed like a huge, futuristic jump. So yeah, you are right when you say it is that sort of aha iPhone moment. Because it's just so disruptive in the environment that it plays. I mean, someone told me, look, all other car launches are going to be boring. Okay, I don't want to go that far, and I have a lot of respect for all my design colleagues in other companies, but I just hope it is a moment where designers across companies, and you said you want to go beyond this conversation, really take that that courage and that conviction to break the mold, and I hope it's inspired people like that.
Since it is kind of a disruptive idea in terms of, as a design language. Did you face any challenge internally in terms of convincing the management?
No, like I said, the challenge was more in the design team itself.
After breaking that barrier.
After that, it was unbelievable. I mean, people
at the clay model stage.
When of course I was nervous, because it was one of the first projects that I started in the company. So there was 3XO Rocks and B05 as it was called internally, and then the 9E. Of course, when you're going to show it to the management committee who's going to sign off thousands of crores of investment, you do have a moment where your knees are shaking, right? But when you take the cloth off and you show them the clay model and you look at their faces, because I don't look at the model, I look at their faces. Okay. That reaction when the face lights up, is like,
knees stop shaking.
Yes, and then the question they ask is, how soon can we get this?
Oh.
That is a question which is your answer actually, that you've done well.
Moment of truth.
Moment of truth is when they ask the question, when are we going to bring this to the road? And I think there's no better feeling, for a design and design team than that. That the management itself says they can't wait for this to come. So. Yeah.
And okay, before we end, now this we are talking about the passenger vehicle space.
Yes.
On the commercial vehicle space, you have done some interventions, the tractors which you showcase in South Africa, and then recently
Vero.
The Vero. So, are you trying to, would you like, because that's a more conservative area.
Yes.
When it comes to consumers as a market, things change very slowly, at least in design and all. So do you think you will rather go slow, or maybe you would like to experiment something very different in that space?
Yeah, look, the OJA is actually, for a tractor world, is extremely disruptive. And when we see the farming community, especially the younger generation, they are connected through their mobile phones to anything happening in the world. So they've got cousins in Canada who are, using the latest farm equipment. They are seeing what's happening in other fields of design. They are completely mobile phone savvy, so they use our app. So the OJA was like, wow, that was the iPhone moment in the farm world.
So very untractor-like design.
Untractor-like, and then the response we got, and we are doing more tractors across Swaraj and Mahindra, which we'll of course see later. Then the Vero, again, in that segment, air conditioning, bringing in those, I don't think they're creature comforts. I think they're necessities. If that person is working 10, 12, 14 hours a day, is it right as a society to expect that person to work in 40, 45 degrees of heat without any air conditioning while you are, sitting in your air-conditioned office and home waiting for your package to arrive? I mean, I don't think as a society it's something right or fair to do. So you bring in things despite the fact that there would be some challenges, whatever those challenges are, but you at least create that option, and that we are seeing is gaining a lot of traction.
So you would like to push the boundary there as well?
Of course. I mean, the truck industry, there are, if I last remember, I think 3 or 4 out of 10 trucks are not driven because there's no drivers. They are lying idle. This is going to be a huge challenge, that which kid says I want to grow up and be a truck driver, right? Because we haven't treated it for what it is. Of course, during COVID, we celebrated all of them and all of that, and after that, we forgot them again. So if you want to make that profession aspirational and keep the country moving and delivering and receiving, you have to create these kind of products, and it's our duty towards that segment, but that person to offer a product like this.
Lastly, when your team,
Yeah.
how big is the team now? And
A team's about 160 odd people,
Okay.
110
Between India, Italy
and
and
the UK. India and the UK.
Okay.
Italy is of course Pininfarina, but Pininfarina we use more on project basis, but the two in-house teams are really in Mumbai and Banbury.
That's about
150 odd people, yeah.
Was there any input from Pininfarina for these two vehicles?
No, not for these, no.
And do you plan to expand it further?
Yes, we will expand as needed. I think we have a right team size. This team size, Shumo, for me, has 2 or 3 great values. One is I know everyone in the team, by name, and then the team works well with each other. See, the moment it becomes too large, you almost restrict what they can and can't do. See, today a designer is able to contribute to a tractor project, to a LMM project, to a SUV project, because there's so many projects and they're able to contribute creatively. And I think I want to retain that. So maybe we won't grow, to some crazy number. Of course, we will grow, and we have a sort of roadmap to that. But it has to be in line with your product plan.
And you touched about LMM. I think in your bouquet of kind of businesses, apart from passenger vehicle, I think the LMM presents itself as a good platform to try out new concepts, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's the emerging part. It's
Yeah.
mobility, last mile mobility.
Yes, and it's a market leader in its in its segment.
So at some point, maybe some pods or some. Those
Yeah,
kind of
maybe.
things?
We'll have to see, of course, how things develop. But that's completely an opportunity for the design team.
Okay, so maybe that's a topic for another discussion.
Yeah.
On another day.
Yeah.
Pratap, always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
There you heard Pratap Bose, Chief Design and Creative Officer at M&M, talking about the design philosophy, the design journey, a new phase of the design journey at Mahindra and Mahindra started with this new set of vehicles, BE6 and BE XEV 9E, and how the journey will kind of progress here on with definitely pushing boundaries in some other segments of the business as well. On that note, thank you for watching this interview. Take care. Goodbye.